Your Auburn Tigers have taken down the highly favored and highly ranked South Carolina Gamecocks in Neville Arena, 101-61. A 40-point ranked win for the Tigers at home, remaining undefeated on the season. Boy, what a win. We got to talk about the score, the storylines, and the stats from this game. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, however you got here, whenever you got here, we appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. As you're coming into the stream, you know the drill. This is for you if you're on the live or if you're on the replay. Smash the like button, especially after a performance like this tonight. If you don't want to do it for us, do it for Auburn. Smash that like button. And of course, share with us where you're watching from this evening. We'd love to talk to you, know where you're watching from. We got any students leaving the stands tonight very happy with some fries that they got because of 2 missed free throws at the end of the game. Let us know too. Boy, what a night in Neville Arena where you just never seem to have a good night. That's why I love to call it the Nev. So much to talk about in this game. So much to be excited about. Night and day experiences. Does anybody remember how we all felt after the Saturday game? You feel a little bit better now? You see why you shouldn't panic when you lose? It's tough to win on the road. It's even tougher to win in Neville Arena. 101-61. The Tigers, my goodness, just destroy, absolutely destroy the Gamecocks. So obviously we're all excited. Obviously we're all trying to figure out what does this mean in terms of the grand scheme of things. You're tied at the top now in the SEC, still plenty left to be played. My biggest question is, and one of the bigger questions I had coming in this game, was South Carolina as good as advertised? Tonight, I didn't see it a whole lot, and that's kind of a little bit disappointing because I love a good underdog. I love someone bucking the trend. You know, they were picked way bottom, I think the very bottom of the SEC, and I kind of hoped to see a little bit more of a fight out of them. And they provided a little bit at the start, but Neville Arena, the way Auburn plays in Neville, is just too much for anybody, much less the Gamecocks. Probably the worst loss anybody's taken this season. I'm probably misquoting that, but I know it's the highest, I think they said it on the broadcast, the largest margin of victory for an AP top 25 ever, or at least in Neville Arena history. What an incredible game. We have got so many people checking in. I'm not going to be able to say hello to everybody. I'm going to try to. Jackson, WT, Kevin, Corey, Drip Edits, Anna, John, who else is here? Kevlar, Trammell. So Ryan from Minnesota, good to see you. All the fine people here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Continue to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Where do we start with this one, guys? I mean, I'd usually go off of y'all, but where do y'all want to start tonight in this discussion? We'll get to the stats, but let's sit in this nice, really nice victory tonight. I did see Jackson has posted this twice, so he obviously wants to talk about it. I did not see Denver Jones point guard player. You didn't have him on your bingo card, whatever your comment was earlier. So Bruce has said this, that Denver Jones was an option at the point guard position if needed to. If you notice, this was an opportunity for you to try a lot of different things because the game was in hand pretty much past the 6-7 minute mark into the game. If you want to give somebody an opportunity to hone those skills so you can call upon them in later portions of the season, this is an opportunity to do that. So Denver Jones is an option at point guard. And you have to have that, right? Because what happens if an injury happens? You got to have somebody ready. So yeah, you may not have had it on your bingo card, but it's a reality. Big Simp checking in from work. Good to see you. I know we're all excited here. And David's really excited as well with the freeze emojis too. We kept our double-digit win streak alive. If you missed our call-in show earlier, we talked about this a little bit. Devin brought up, asked the question, would I prefer like a closer win or the double-digit win for the streak? I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I still would have preferred South Carolina to put up a little bit more of a fight because this makes me question them a little bit. On the other hand, it's Neville Arena, as I've talked about, and the way Auburn plays there. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, I mean, it's hard to win in there. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm gonna be honest. I feel really, really bad for them, to be completely and 100% honest with you. Let's start playing like this on the road. Well, if you could take everybody in there and insert them into every road game, we would probably be able to do something like that. I think everybody needed this one. Florida was just confounding, frustrating, and I agree that this was a little bit confusing, but this kind of erases a lot of that right now. So everybody is ready to talk about Kentucky. Hold on, hold on. We'll talk about Kentucky. That's at the end of the show. Let's focus on this right here. I just want to give a kudos again to the team. You're not defined by the mistakes you make or you shouldn't be defined by that, or the problems you have, the issues you have. You're defined how you respond to those mistakes, to those losses, to those misses. And Auburn once again finds a way to hit a rough patch and respond. Yeah, sure, it's at home, but you still got to make the response. So hats off to them. Hats off to the arena and Neville and the fans and just the whole experience out there. And again, it's redundant to say at this point, but I continue to be envious that you're all there. So if you were there, part of that, thank you so much for being part of that. All right, let's talk about some of these players. One of you have already brought it up. Jalen was on fire tonight. Can I add a little bit here? Jalen was on fire in the first half and the rest of the game too. But then Janai turned it on. Janai Broom is one of the better finishers of games that I have seen in quite some time at Auburn. Now, I can't talk about everybody else's programs because I focus on Auburn stuff, but Janai just knows how to take something under control and just put it away. He is invaluable. I said this a couple of games ago, and I feel like it's becoming a safer place to say something like this. The duo of Jalen Williams and Janai Broom may be on the verge of rivaling Walker and Jabari. I know what I said. I know what I said. I acknowledge it. I know what it sounds like, but the results are starting to show it. Walker and Jabari there'll never be another backcourt duo like that. But front court duo like this, it's really good. It's really, really good. Everybody deserves some props tonight. Chaney Johnson is going to be a good one. Big Simp, I'm glad you noticed that. I think Chaney is definitely starting to come along. Denver's starting to come along too, and they're complementing in very much needed ways. Denver playing point guard tonight, but Chaney Johnson too. We're seeing a lot of people, find ways to contribute that we've really needed, and that's a nice thing to see. Hobby, I hope this isn't the real hobby on it's definitely not on X. With a demand for tickets, do you see an expansion to Neville Arena? Where are you going to expand it to? I don't. If it's an expansion, it's more of a rearrangement of seats. I don't necessarily see that right now. We got a lot of people starting to get here finally. Our bench killed their bench on points. Oh, we'll look at that in just a second. That's pretty awesome. All right, let's look at some stats. We spent the first 5 to 8 minutes here talking just about how much we love this right now. But let's look at some team stats. I want you all right now in the chat, everybody, one name. Don't give me an explanation, but this is like a live chat vote. You can vote on the replay if you're watching it, but for our purposes live, one name. Who is your player of the game? And if you want to tell me later, but give it to me in one comment so we can kind of count it up as easily as possible. I'll give you your options tonight for probably player of the game. Jalen Williams, Janai Broom. Trey had a good game. Chad Baker-Mazara also had a pretty decent game too. But those are your best options right there, just in terms of statistics alone. But who is your player of the game? I also want to point out the chippiness of this game too. South Carolina, act like y'all been there before. I mean, seriously. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like Auburn was completely innocent in some of the chippiness, but at the same time, my goodness, they just got their feathers literally ruffled so much from getting their tails whooped and plucked. How many other bad chicken jokes can I make in the stream? It was interesting how edgy the emotions were tonight, on both sides, but especially from the South Carolina Gamecocks. All right, we got some votes coming in. Jay Will, Broom, 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 Broom. A lot of Janai Broom. I think, unfortunately, tonight, when you're talking about player of the game, you are going to pick who finished the strongest in the game, and that's going to be Janai Broom. Jalen came on strong very, very early, very much needed when South Carolina went on their nice little run to start off the game, and then Janai just took over. And so kind of some recency bias there, but nonetheless, very much deserving from him. We love chicken dinner, and it was good. Abby bringing up on X, bringing up a good point. Cardwell with 4 blocks, maybe more. He had an outstanding game tonight too. There was a really good sequence where he did. He had a block, I think a dunk, and then like some hustle plays, throwing it, trying to keep it from going out of bounds. He's just becoming a more and more well-rounded player. So really love him too. So votes are still coming in. Y'all can keep voting for player of the game. Let me give you some team or individual stats tonight. Janai Broom, 21 points, 8 for 15, 4 for 5 from the 3-point arc. Wish you'd done a little better on free throws, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. 3 rebounds, not for him, only 2 rebounds for Janai tonight. So a very uncharacteristic game because he scores his points, just not his rebounds in 22 minutes of play. Jalen Williams, by comparison, 23 points, 5 for 7 from the 3-point arc, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 1 assist, 2 rebounds. That is interesting tonight. Your leading rebounder tonight is Chad Baker-Mazara, and with the energy and ferocity, especially as he kind of showed with some of the South Carolina Gamecocks tonight, it makes a lot of sense why he's your leading rebounder by far tonight. We have 16 rebounds. I wonder if some of those will get changed upon review. Drip Edits, give some credit to South Carolina player here. I like that Eric Gray guy on their team. Very good player, calm, the chippy, grab down, very well handled player. If that's who I'm remembering, I agree with you there. He seemed to be one of the cooler heads there. I wonder what his status is as upperclassman, whatever, if that kind of showed out a little bit in that regard. Because the person who got really bent out of shape was it Stute? No, not him. I forget his name, but I think it's the guy that used to play with Janai over at what was it called? Morehead State. So other scorers tonight: Trey Donaldson with 11, Denver Jones with 7. I thought he had more than that tonight. Katie Johnson with 9, Aiden Holloway with 2, Chad Baker-Mazara with 10, Leor Berman with 2, Chaney Johnson with 6, Cardwell with 8. Really nice stat line for him tonight. 8. He had 4 blocks, 5 assists. 5 assists. This is just a lopsided stat sheet individually in some areas. Janai with very few rebounds. Cardwell leading in assists. He's 4 for 4, along with Katie Johnson. I'm going to give him credit too, from the free throw line and 8 points. That's a pretty good stat line for Cardwell. Let's give him credit where credit is due. So that's some of the individual stats. Is there another player, another person, a moment tonight that you'd like to call out as an individual? Kudos. If there's some improvements that need to be made too, let's hear some of those as well. Mac tonight for South Carolina, he looked like they were going to go to him a lot more and try to assert with him, but it really wasn't all that much. There was a lot of talk of them being a lot smaller than us when they came into the game. I didn't really notice that much of a size disadvantage, but maybe the way they played with their size was the true disadvantage, because clearly we were the ones that benefited from that. The way that Jalen, the way that Janai, the way that Cardwell, I'll throw Chad in there, all played tonight. Kevin giving some credit to the defense tonight. Look, this is a team that just came off of a 7-game winning streak, which is no more. If you're going to do that at home or on the road in the SEC, you've got to have an offense that is at least clicking a little bit. Auburn tonight holds them to 61 points. And frankly, if this is a closer game, I wonder if it's a little bit less than that in the 50s. So good, Kevin, to bring up the defense tonight. You should feel good about Chaney Johnson, especially if an injury happens or things like that, the way he's coming along, the way that Cardwell is coming along. What you want from your bench depth is not a lot of drop off when they come in or if something happens. And it doesn't feel like the drop off is humongous. When Janai's not in the game, there's a difference, right? It just is the reality of it is. That's why he's the starter. But you're not really seeing that much of a disadvantage. The differences are not necessarily a bad thing. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Crazy to think that we have two potential SEC Player of the Year winners on our team. Broom and Jay Will are phenomenal. Again, why I continue to make the comparisons between Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith. Is this duo heading towards being in that conversation and comparison? At some points better. The results right now are making it an easy case to make. Not saying we're there yet, but my goodness, I'm starting to feel a lot better about making that statement and not feeling like I'm just talking about hyperbole or anything like that. Will it result in being the truth by the end of the season? Jabari, Walker, Janai, Jalen. Only time will tell. All right. So that is individual stats, breaking the 100 point mark. We missed it by 1 point a few games ago. So that's really nice. All right. Let's talk about team stats tonight. You're going to really. Did y'all just look at that top stat right there? 61% from the field. Do you think Auburn likes being at home? My goodness, 61%. If that wasn't good enough for you, 3-point percentage, 60%. Almost 2 out of every 3-pointers went in the basket. And my goodness, look at this beautiful stat line right here for free throws, y'all. 81%. Hats off to both teams. For South Carolina was 79%, just below my 80% mark. I'll give it to them playing in this hostile environment. But Auburn with a beautiful. Janai, we almost had 100% if you had made your free throws. That's my complaint tonight. What a beautiful free throw percentage tonight. 40-point win. I think it's safe to say that Austin wasn't there. Yeah, I think we can definitely say that now. All right, keep going with the stats here. We focus on the 3 main stats here that usually tell the story of the game. Free throws, we talked about. Auburn wins that one pretty decently. Turnovers tonight, 7 for Auburn, 13 for South Carolina. Not the biggest difference in the world, but big enough in Neville Arena. Rebounds tonight, not a big differential either. It was not a very big rebounding game. 18 for South Carolina, 24 for Auburn, but Auburn wins all 3 of those categories. So I don't see enough of a differential there to tell the story of the game. What's the big stat that made the difference in the game? I think we may have already talked about it, but let's look at a few others. Bench points tonight. Y'all, I can't believe what I'm seeing. That might be it, just because of the sheer hilarity of it. Bench points for South Carolina tonight. 1. That's almost worse than 0. 1. They mustered a free throw. 39 for Auburn. Points in the paint are pretty even. Fast break points, big favoring Auburn here in 2-16. Auburn wins all of the defensive categories, blocks and steals. Assists tonight, 5 for South Carolina, 22 for Auburn. So there's a lot of stats here to look at tonight. But frankly, I'm going to give it to the 61% from the field tonight. Almost 2 out of every 3 shots were going in the basket for Auburn tonight. A lot to be very proud of tonight. Our largest ranked win since 1959. There's the specifics I was looking for. Dylan must have worked hard at those free throws. I hope they're all working hard, and it seems like it is because the dividends are starting to pay off, especially for some of the big men too. Can we give KD? Can we give some credit to KD for defense? He's an animal on defense. Absolutely. And I think that's the problem with a game like this. There's too much kudos and credit to go around. You're going to forget somebody. But KD tonight continues to be such a great role player, getting the points that are, deserving of his role. but also contributing in ways like his defense. He is just a little beast. He's a little psycho, and we love him. They had more fouls than bench points. That is obviously true. Personal fouls tonight, 19 for South Carolina. Auburn had 18, so pretty fairly called game right there. So there's not going to be any. South Carolina fans, don't be like the Bama fans. You got your butt whooped. Just take it and be better than them. Bama fans can't reconcile the fact they got their butt whooped too. Now y'all got beat pretty bad, a lot worse. But don't be like the Bama fans and make excuses. Was the bench point at the end on the free throw? I'm guessing so. I find it a little shocking how Janai was better at shooting threes tonight than he was shooting free throws tonight. Basketball is a game of streaks sometimes, especially when it comes to shooting, and sometimes you can just be off. And that can be different compared to free throws, three-pointers, just how you're shooting overall on the floor. To me, I think he's shown that he is struggling with his free throw shot again. Last game, there were some struggles there too, I believe, if I remember correctly. You just gotta work through it sometimes. I'm not shocked as comfortable as he felt in those moments shooting that 3-point ball. He was just feeling it during the motion of the game, the energy of the game. I'm not shocked, to be honest with you. He needs to take him for the 3-point arc. It's not a bad idea with the success rate that he had right there. All right, what haven't we talked about tonight? I know y'all want to get to talking about what's coming up next, and we can do that, but I don't want us to leave the conversation about this game, this performance, this humongous win tonight. Folks, we just beat the number 11 team who was in the lead, tied for the lead with the SEC lead right now, ranked ahead of us by 40 points at home. Let that sink in. I don't care if they're overrated, if that's what we all figure out by the end of the season. 40 points, even at home. That's incredible. Again, a lot to talk about here. We're not going to be able to talk about it all. Kudos to the walk-ons for coming in and getting the century mark. They got it done tonight. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you the rundown of what to expect next here at E2C Network. When we come back on that side of it, we're going to talk about what's next and recap all the things that we talked about. Keep posting comments and questions. All right, what's up next for us here at E2C Network? What you need to be aware of. Lots and lots going on. Let me just say this before I bring up the cue cards. I'm heading to Auburn this weekend. If you're not following us on social media, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you need to be following all of those things because you never know what content we'll be putting where. So there'll be some crossover. Whenever we go to campus, we love to share the experience. I will be in Neville for College Game Day. Would love to see some of you guys there. If you're going to be there, just basically tune in. If you're part of the Conquer Club, you can do that by joining here on YouTube or at patreon.com/E2C Network. You'll get some special stuff from me throughout the weekend. It's going to be fun. Next scheduled live streams, though, we've got, not that one. This one, I had it right the first time. After the Kentucky game, we will be doing a live stream. Should be right after it, depending upon where I am on campus and connectivity issues, but we will be doing that Sunday evening. The plan is to do it at 9 like we normally do. There might be a slight change of plans there, but maybe not. But plan for 9 Eastern time. The Auburn Experience live podcast recording, our main show of everything we do here. And then we are doing baseball streams. We're going to do one this Tuesday after the UAB game to recap the weekend that was before, the weekend that was ahead, and the game. Yeah, weekend that would be ahead, and the UAB game. So basically, folks, saddle up because we got content galore for you coming out here on E2C Network. All right, let's transition into talking about what's next and cover that before we get out of here. Jared Harper's little bro getting a shout out on there. Always love to see that. Didn't it make it 25 straight sellouts tonight? I think that was one of the stats that was reported out there. Not a shock. Don't forget that South Carolina beat UK, Tennessee, back-to-back coming into our game. It's impressive. And so that's the question that I have coming out of this game. Was South Carolina overrated? I don't think so, but it's hard to see a 40-point loss like that and not say, maybe a little bit. Kentucky will probably be a closer game since they need to win to stay in the race. So they are really going to want this one. They're going to want to reclaim their title or start to reclaim their title. You can do that in prime time. This game's going to be at night. It's not going to be one of these where it's college game day and then we start the game. Basically, it's going to be a lot different. And I think this is the right approach. A lot of fans have. It's going to be a difficult game. Be ready for it. Don't assume that this is going to carry over to the Kentucky game because they are just chock full of talent as they always are. How are we feeling about it? Confidence level. I think I'm just so impressed with what Bruce Pearl has built here. The fact that we now have had college game day come 3 times in a row is absolutely outstanding. And it does so much for the program in terms of attention. It doesn't hurt that he can coincide with his Outlive Cancer game. If you haven't bought a t-shirt, make sure you support him by doing that. If you're going to be on campus, I believe there are some restaurants that are participating in that. If you go and eat with them on certain days, I think they will give the proceeds to the Outlive Cancer thing. So I think they're sharing that on social media. So make sure you pay attention to that. Big matchup. You got to feel like if Auburn gets that win on Saturday, if they can, that when you count up this one, the South Carolina win, the Ole Miss on the road, Alabama win, Auburn's resume will be very well built for the postseason, meaning it would be hard for them not to get in the postseason at that point. I know that may be a little bit presumptuous, still lots of basketball left to play, but that's kind of where my head is at right now. This is one of the best teams as far as chemistry I've seen under Coach Pearl. I agree. Even when they're off, they don't completely fall off in terms of chemistry, it seems like. Tickets will be impossible to get the next game versus Kentucky. They already are. Going into the game, they were $200. I would imagine that is going. I almost pulled the trigger on one that was like $190 today. I can't do it. I can't do it right now. But I would love to be there. If anybody's got a reasonable price ticket below $200, you might be able to get me to spend some cash for you. So we'll see if I'm able to get in. Probably not, but I will be there for college game day, sharing the experience before and after. Hopefully the students will be having a great time outside before all that. Look, folks, it's going to be a fun day Saturday. It's already been the start to a fun week, and I hope you guys are all excited. Final thoughts, comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get them in right now. What a win. 40-point win. The biggest win since like 70 years, I think is what the stat was, and especially against an AP ranked opponent. It's just an absolutely impressive response again after what was an abysmal, embarrassing loss at Florida. Yes, is at home, but folks, everybody can only play the schedule that they have, and everybody can only play with their schedule to play. You can say that is a reason to not make too much of this because it's such an intimidating environment. But Auburn still has to show up, and they showed up and showed out tonight. Janai, Jalen have a great game. So many other great games that you could talk about with Chad, with Trey, with KD in some areas, Dylan Cardwell tonight. Lots of kudos and storylines to go around tonight. And I have appreciated you all having a good show with me tonight. It's been fun having the energy in this room, especially after last Saturday was not so fun. All right, folks, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you on campus. I hope to see you following us on social media as we're around campus. And maybe I'll see you at the arena for big game day, college game day against Kentucky. Thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out with us, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.